With these newer molded vintage type cars, I think Ebbro are amongst the best of them. Hello, this is PJ from Hearns Hobbies, and I've got this kit to look at today. Have I got the right way around? It's a bit hard to tell. Look at that. Well, this is an Ebbro kit of the Renault 4, and this is of the service van. How do you pronounce that? I'm not very good with my French. Fourgonnette? Renault service. So I'm guessing the Fourgonnette bit means station wagon. So this is based on the Renault 4, which was one of the longest running series of cars in the world. It was produced in the early 60s, I think it was 1961, and it finished its production in the early 90s. So you imagine that, that's 3 decades of the same car going around. So as it goes, apparently this was released just after the 2CV. If you're familiar with 2CV, those are very boxy sort of, I don't know, it's boxy but it's still round. So how do you define that? 2CV is quite a famous Renault. It was a very utilitarian car, and they designed the Renault 4 to be a similar sort of thing. It was meant to be a short station wagon, but it actually came out more like the first hatchback. This one actually has got a swing open door because of the station wagon sort of design here. But the overall design on the front end, that's from the Renault 4. They designed it so it could work off-road very well as well. So it's designed for rural and also city use. And that probably is how it's attributed to such a long service life. You know, very well designed, a very basic car, and it had many different guises and it could do many different things. Okay, let's look inside. If you're not familiar with Ebbro, Ebbro is actually a Japanese company. They're very famous for their die-cast cars, and some years ago they've decided to go into plastic model building, and their plastic kits are quite remarkable. Now I've built the food van, which was one of the dioramas I built, and the moldings and the way it goes together is quite interesting. Okay, let's pop this over here. All right, so there you've got your box of bits. See here, there's quite a lot of parts here. You wouldn't notice it from looking at the box. If I bring the box back, you look at the sides, the ends, the other side. On this end, you would not know that this has engine detail, but it has full engine detail. Okay, and hence why the box is so chunky, because it's got all those extra bits. All right, let's have a closer look at everything. Let's start off with the bodywork. Bodywork, I think, is one of the most interesting parts. It's one of those shapes that we are most interested when we choose a car kit. So you can see it's pretty much one piece. You've got open door sills because the doors can be built as opened or closed. You have your engine bay. It's all fully open, ready for engine detail. And then you have your rear door as well. So this one will be swinging open like this. And then you have the interior there. Okay, so that's pretty standard. Now, when I was building my food van, it had a very Tamiya feel. So I don't know if there's any affiliation there, but the tooling may have been assisted by either ex-employees or someone who's familiar with the Tamiya system. Okay, so that's very nice there indeed. All right, let's move on to this bag here. So we've got some chrome parts and the bumpers. Okay, actually let's zoom in a bit on these. Well, maybe I should have zoomed in on the body too. Maybe I'll bring that back and I'll show you some more fine details on that. Okay, so there's the bumpers. You have bumpers and door handles, and they're molded in grey. You see this part here. I think you need to be careful of that because it looks like a... Oh, well, I think we'll have to check the instructions to see if they're actually structural or not. Because in a way they look structural. You don't want to just chop it off here and find out that it's not actually part of the gate. Okay, so the door handle is really nice. They add that 3-dimensionality to it, rather than some other kits would probably have molded those into the side of the bodywork, so you wouldn't have the voids there. Okay, and you've got the mounting sections at the back of those bumpers as well. Okay, from there we have some chrome parts. Okay, nicely chrome grille. So here you can see it is very high gloss. You've got the reflectors for your lenses here. And you've got your rear vision mirrors and hubcaps. Now in a way this can look a little bit heavy. If you decide it is a bit heavy, then you could always have that removed. There's a multitude of different ways to remove chrome. You can use a paint remover from Tamiya, or you can even use either bleach, or there's some other chemicals that work as well. Oven cleaner. I think you can start from scratch with a clean sprue, and there's plenty of very good chrome effect paints available now, and that'll give you a finer finish. But if you're not into all that extra trouble, then these will work just fine. Okay, there are your chrome bits. All right, let's bring this body back. Let's have a closer look at that. All right. There you can see the engine bay, that's all opened up. Your mounting points. So the door sills. So you're gonna have them open or closed. So this will make a really nice diorama, I think, with a van driver. We've got the rear hatch sections. Just see here, that's where the hinges are gonna go. Mounting points for the lights, the bumpers. And then you've got the opposite side there too. You can see the details on the side panels here. And there's the hinges for the doors there as well. So there we go. So that's the bodywork up close. All right, let's look at the next bag. So the next bag has got a variety of things, your tyres and such. Okay, so here we have some photoetch. So most of the kits I've seen so far from Ebbro do come with some photoetch. Look at that, focus there. Okay, so that's for the grille. You see the curved sides there for the headlights. So that's a nice touch. So you can see my finger underneath. You can see through it, and you will be able to see some engine detail through the front grille. Okay, we've got some decals here. These are actually mirrored decals. You see that these are highly polished stainless steel, and they're self-adhesive type. So if you built Tamiya kits with markings before, this is the same feel. So basically you need to cut those out. The adhesive is on the back of it. You need to judge exactly where it needs to go and then press it down, and then they'll be fixed into place. So we've got Renault marks here. So 2 different Renault marks, and then these are the rear vision side mirror, or mirrors. So they're highly reflective. Okay, now these bits are black, so they're going to be a bit hard to see, so I'll bring this box back. Alright, so we've got the tyres. Got 5 tyres in there, so there must be a spare put somewhere, probably on the bottom of the chassis. See how they're very skinny, very period style tyres, and they've got treads on them. And then we've got the poly caps. So if you're familiar with Tamiya kits or even Hasegawa or Fujima kits, the poly caps are there for holding the wheels on and allowing them to rotate. Makes for a very easy assembly. Okay, let's put those over here. All right, actually I should have kept that there. Over here we've got the some black plastic, which is for the signage on the top of the roof if you choose this particular version. So this is the Renault service van, so you can see the diamond there for the Renault mark, and then there's this sash here. So that's optional. This is the actual mount. So I'll zoom in on it. There's a mount that goes onto the roof. So you need to put a hole in the roof for that. And then that's the opposing side that goes on this side. Okay. So I can go over there. I've got a selection of white parts. So this will be the wheel arch guards on the inside. We've got the rear hatch door. Zoom in on that. Okay, so you can see the sort of ribbing, I guess you call that, for strength for the pressings. This, I'm not too sure. There could be a sway bar or something of suspension. You got mud flaps. This part here looks like the could be the rear part of the door or part of the roof. Could be the roof actually. I think the roof sort of flips up a little bit. Okay, so this matches up to this. So this part will fold out and this will lift up. Okay. Now we've got some more black bits, so let's bring back the box. Okay, so here you got your chassis and major underside components. All right, so you get your floor pan right there. All right, so you've got the chassis with your arms already in place. Some mounts here which will go onto the bodywork. This is the underside, so you've got really nice detail there for the pressing of the floor pan. And then you've got the blank here for the rear suspension. You've got a choice of steering wheels. That's your brake lever. Really long steering column with the stalks. Here you've got the front suspension and skid pan across the front. Well, there's a sway bar that's already molded in. This one here would be part of the, well, that's the inside of the dashboard. So this is actually, the seats will be sitting here, and then this is where the dashboard will be coming up because that's the transmission tunnel. And this will be part of the firewall. Okay, so this part will match up to this part here. Okay, so you've got, what are these bits? Well, you've got the, what do you call it? Registration plate mounts. And then these, I'm not too sure. These could be, what are they? Don't know. We'll check in the manual a bit later. Okay, let's pop that aside. All right, so we come up with some clear parts. Now this is where some of the engineering is a bit unusual. So large selection of clear parts, and you see how the doors are actually molded with the clear on them. And it's quite an intriguing way of dealing with this particular issue. So doors are normally separate and the clear is applied with glue later. Problem you have there is you get these big gaps possibly, and also glue marks. So what they've done is they molded this clear part into the door itself, so you just mask it off and you don't have any of those issues with glue marks or gaps. And then you have your the sliding windows here, which would go in this place. So you can either have them slid open or closed. And let's just zoom in on there and you'll get a better idea of what I mean. Okay, so there's the door itself. That's actually just the interior of the door. Okay, so what you see there, that's the interior lining. You can see how the highly polished part is just the glass. Okay, so this is still matte, so it looks like how an interior should look. You just need to mask that off and paint that. Okay, so it's also got the hinge there for where it's attached to the bodywork. But then the actual door panel would be glued across the front of this. Okay, so you've got there's a front windscreen. It's got locating lugs. They're the opening and closing side windows, which will go here. Lenses for the front lights, indicator lamps. These would be, what are they? These are probably maybe optional for a different vehicle maybe. I can't see where these are used on this particular van, but here you've got the rear windscreen, and again that's been molded into the rear pressing for the hatch, which is quite nice. You can see these voids here. Okay, and again you've got one of these clear parts which I don't think are used on this particular car. Some indicator lenses there as well. Okay, so they're the clear parts. What are we left with? Okay, so we've got some black parts here. Now this is the mainly engine components. Okay, so you've got the engine block there. You've got a bit of the grille, radiator, windshield wipers. There's a jack in here, so I assume the jack can be put into the back of the van. Since this is a service van, you expect things like that. There's a battery, more parts of the engine. You've got quite a lot of plumbing there. Let's do the zoom again. Okay, so that's where you've got the screw jack, got the pedals, windshield wipers. That looks like a the exhaust maybe. Radiator. It's probably an air filter, I'm guessing. There's a front grille. Got the steering rod, drive shafts. There's the engine. Two halves of the block of the transmission. Your dashboard there. Okay, so that's just upside down at the moment. So there's a dashboard. Got your exhaust system there. So the fan, various bits and pieces. So here's the bit of the plumbing, which I think is quite nice. It's got a really organic look to the shape. It's probably the intake to the carb. Got the rear struts here. And there's a battery, top of the head, and then we go back to where we started from, was the jack. Okay, and from there we've got our final sheet of sprue. Oh, let's zoom that out so you have a better idea. Okay, so here we have the most of the body components. You've got your seats here. And the seats are already mounted on their rails. I've got all the wheels and the wheel hubs. Got the steering uprights. These are door panels. Okay, so they're the outer door panels, and we saw the inners before with the glass already molded on them. Got more of the rear section here, with the exhaust poking out. Actually, that's the front end, I think. No, maybe the rear end. That's a fuel tank actually. And then you've got the rear hatch. Oh, no, actually, that's the front bonnet. Okay, so the doors look really nice. All right, let's have a final close-up. Okay, so there's the seats. You can see them on their rails. There's your uprights. Can't tell whether that's focused. That's probably better there. Okay, there's your uprights. There's your wheels. You see how they got the really fine stamping? And they've actually got voids for those holes. Right, so you got options there. There's either those or these stamping ones. I actually quite like the look of these. There's your door panels. So locators for the handles. There's a tank. And you've got these hubs where the polycaps will go in, so that will be for the drum brakes. And then there's the front bonnet. Okay, so right there. You see the locators there for the inner lining, which is on those clear parts. So there you go. So that's all the sprue of this particular kit. Now let's see what else we're getting here. All right, so there's a little addendum here. Shows you how to put the sign on top of the roof. You just need to place a hole in the middle, and you've got that elevated sign. We've got a sheet of decals. Okay, so the decals are actually 3 sets you can choose from. Actually very nicely printed. They're going to look a little bit hazy because there's a protective tissue which is on them, which I'm not going to remove. Get your white decals there as well. So the white is actually quite dense. Sometimes you get really thin decals that will bleed through, and you'll see the base color. But these are quite heavy. And these are the decals that will be used for the roof-mounted sign, if you want to go with that. Got some markings there if you don't want to use your the mirrored self-adhesive decals. But really quite period and nostalgic, all this design. Okay, so that's the decals. And then we'll start into the manual. Okay, so you've got a manual here. All right, quite a big introduction to the car itself. So the cars were around for so long, and they've got the 3 languages there. Okay, so you've got Japanese, English, and French. Okay, so here we have the legend of all the parts, so you can understand exactly where the parts are and what numbers they are. Open up to this section. We start assembly. You have your paint chart here, which uses Tamiya paint codes. And we start on doing the dashboard and the interior. So you've got the choices here of your steering wheels. Putting in the glass on the inside of the bodywork, so that's the windscreen. You've got your sun visors, the firewall and steering going in there. I'm going to move across as we open up. So we start making the engine. So the engine starts going into place. Okay, so the engine is interesting in that it looks like it's mounted the opposite way. That's because this is actually a front-wheel drive car. So the transmission was in the front. So you've got the seats going in, you've got the interior base onto the floor pan. Then we've got the hub covers here. Moving on to attaching the bodywork onto the floor pan with the engine in situ. Start putting in the drive shafts, the steering rods and the uprights and the bottom of the suspension for the front end. Got your choices of the wheels here, which we had a closer look at before. The rear struts, the tank, a spare tyre just sits in there, exhaust system, and then you start doing the radiator and the fan. And then as I flip this over, I'm going to flip this all the way over here. Start getting into the engine. You can see all the components that are getting into the engine now. It is actually quite complicated. See all those parts. And then we get into the front grille. So it looks like there's a choice of those two grilles. So you can either go with the photoetch part or the fully molded part. I'll be the one to go with the photoetch because it's much finer. You pop that all in there with the headlights and the reflectors. Bumper going on. You got your bonnet. So that's fixed into here so you can actually hinge. So the bonnet, these ones hinge forward. We've got the door construction with the clear lining going onto the actual skins. Same with the rear hatch. Then here you're sort of doing the final construction. So you've got your mounting tabs here. So with these, they're not actually hinged so you can open or close them. You need to choose at this stage whether you want them closed or open. Because if you want them closed, you need to cut these mounting lugs off, or open, you just slide them into the mounting points. Same goes with the rear end. So you can either have it set fully open or fully closed. And then we get to the end here. So finishing touches, basically putting on the mirrors. So you've got options of either going for the old school wire type mirror or the newer plastic molded mirrors. And then mud flaps and then all the tires going on. And that's it. So that's the very nice, really nostalgic kit of the Renault 4. Now the Renault 4 was around for a long time. Don't know if anyone else made a kit, but I have the feeling that Hella probably made a kit of these, since Hella was French and they did make a lot of the French car kits. But this is by far much cleaner than any Hella kit I've come across. And with these newer molded vintage type cars, I think Ebbro are amongst the best of them. Even though they don't make quite a huge selection, they do make some very interesting cars, and the kits are beautiful. So there you go. That is my open box review of the Renault 4. Have I got it upside down? Probably. That's the right way up. Of the service van. So really nice kit. Give it a go. Thanks for watching.